You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron. Now here's your host, Ethan Hristodoulou.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Hristodoulou, and today, bright and early before Sunday kickoff, we are diving into Monday Night Football action between the New York Giants and the New England Patriots down in Foxborough. We have had a tough week. I am, fingers crossed, hoping we can get things going on this Sunday slate of action here. We started out the week 0-4, so we're trying to bounce ourselves back here. That being said, as always, I invite you all to comment down below. Let me hear from you, your thoughts, your opinion on this Monday night matchup. What do you like? What do you dislike? Who's winning and why? Let me hear from you all. And as a reminder, just here for a good time. No betting advice. We're just here to talk some football. That being said, this Giants and Patriots matchup, on paper, 2-10 Giants team, 10-2 Patriots team. You're thinking Patriots all day. Easy money. This should be a layup. I do think there is a road to success, though, and ultimately an upset victory for the New York Giants, and it looks a little something like this. You take a look at that Patriots left side of the offensive line. For those of you who may not be aware, of course, Will Campbell and Jared Wilson are down for the count as we currently speak here. Will Campbell's on IR. He'll be out until at least week 18. Jared Wilson sounds like he's just kind of a week-to-week situation right now, but you look at the way the Giants have won the two games that they have won this season, there is a recurring theme to it, and it's stout defense, aggressive defense, and taking care of the football themselves. Now, Jackson Dart's obviously making his return. We'll discuss on that in a second, taking care of the football and whatnot for the offense. But when you look at the defense of the Giants, it's not been great. They've been awful against the run. They haven't really been great against the pass either. But in those two wins that they did have, they were able to get after the quarterback. They were able to take the football away, each game having two takeaways to ultimately turn into points. And the offense, of course, capitalizing on all of that. And they were actually pretty good at stopping the run in those games for the most part, in comparison to what the rest of their season has looked like, I think I should say. I would also point out that the fact that in those games, they held their opponents to two of the four lowest yardage totals that they were allowing so far, that they have allowed so far this season. So a lot of it went back to the defense and then the offense capitalizing on those defensive advantages that they put together. When you look at the Patriots, very good football team, very fundamentally sound. They take care of the football. They are not known for making mistakes. You look at the 13 offensive turnovers they have this season, and the number's a little bit inflated because they had that wild 5-turnover game against the Pittsburgh Steelers way early in the season. If you pull that game out of it, we're basically talking 8 turnovers on the year, minus that Steelers game. But regardless, they've done a very good job of taking care of the ball, which was a nice turnaround for Drake May, who had a ton of turnovers last season in the limited starts he got in his first year in the NFL. With that left side of the offensive line weakened, I do think there is a possibility when you look at Brian Burns coming off the edge, who for the most part, splits his reps fairly evenly on the left and right side going after the quarterback. He does have a little bit of a slight favor to the left side, it seems like, based off of snap count. So I think you're going after Drake May from his blind side and seeing if Brian Burns can get to him, whether it's stripping the football from a sack, whether it's just getting close and hitting him on the throw, forcing a bad pass, something along those lines, or just forcing him into an early decision. I think there is a route for success for this Giants team. Now, Kayvon Thibodeau being out definitely makes that a little bit more of a disadvantage because you're hoping to have all three of those guys being Brian Burns, Thibodeau, and of course this year's first-round pick in Abdul Carter. But now you're relying on Carter to go opposite of Brian Burns, and I think in your best interest, the Giants should just be sending Brian Burns at that left side as much as possible. Challenge Vidarian Lowe, and I think it's going to be Ben Brown who's starting at left guard, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's who it's going to be. So challenge the left side, see if you can make Drake May make a mistake, take the ball away from him, ultimately come away with a handful of sacks because that left side's weakened. You're relying on your superstar in Brian Burns to make some massive plays for you and pray that you can have a somewhat solid game against the run because that run defense has obviously been atrocious in New York all season long. Now, on the flip side, when you're looking at the Giants offense, Jackson Dart, of course, making his return. This is going to be big for this Giants team. In the few starts that he's had this season, he was monstrous for this offense, bringing it to life with 17 total touchdowns. I am very excited to see what Jackson Dart turns into if this Giants team can actually build around him. And of course, when Cam Scatabo returns next season, when Malik Neighbors returns next season, and what this offense could potentially look like, because Jackson Dart's done a lot on his own. Now, you're going up against a New England defense that has been a pretty stout unit all season long. They rank second against the run this season in yards per game allowed, but they are 17th against the pass. And this is despite having a, on paper, very talented secondary with Christian Gonzalez, with Marcus Jones, Carlton Davis. You got a really good group of guys there, but for whatever the reason may be, they do still let up a decent amount of yards through the air. I'll be curious to see how he fares against these guys, and I'll be also curious to see how much he's willing to challenge a guy like a Christian Gonzalez or even a Marcus Jones, who has arguably been one of the best, if not the best, slot corners in the NFL this season. Pass rush has been about average so far for the Patriots this year, and obviously they're a little bit banged up because there's no Milton Williams, and on top of that, Harold Landry, and Karice Tonga are also potentially going to miss this matchup. Those two are listed as questionable. Milton Williams obviously out as he recovers from injury. So I'll be looking at Mike Kafka and seeing how he tries to attack this defense and just what he tries to scheme up for a quarterback who's mobile, but also I think had been checked for 4 concussions so far this season and finally had a few weeks off after the most recent one, and how much they're willing to design some runs for him and use his athleticism that ultimately led to a lot of big plays because of Jackson Dart's mobility, and how they try to deploy maybe a Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary out of the backfield to mitigate some of that and maybe have him scrambling just a little bit less, because while it's fun to watch what we have seen from Jackson Dart, it obviously leads to what we have now seen from Jackson Dart, which is I think he's missed the last 2, maybe 3 games. I think it's 2 with a concussion. So you're hoping for a sound running game to complement your returning rookie quarterback, but also with a defense that you're kind of catching at a good time, I guess you could say, with that Milton Williams injury, with a potential to be missing a Harold Landry, or even being a little bit lighter on the interior of the defensive line with Tonga being out potentially as well. There is a good opportunity there for you to find some success. I also just feel like this Giants team has played some teams very tough. Like, they do have a win over the Eagles, who are, yes, 8-4, and maybe they're stumbling right now offensively, but still an 8-4 Eagles team, and they've been competitive in some of their other losses as well. So I don't expect the Patriots to run away with this football game by any means. I think it's going to be one of those games where the Giants maybe give them a little bit closer of a fight than you would have liked to see as a Patriots fan, but I do think they get the job done ultimately with the W, and I have them winning 27-20 in this one here. So good for a touchdown, but I don't think by any means they run away with this football game. Like I said, the Giants, they have been a tough out in certain matchups, and they have surprised in the 2 wins that they did have over the 2 teams they beat in the Chargers and, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles. So they have proven that they can beat teams that are well above a 500 winning record if everything is going their way. So all eyes on Mike Kafka, all eyes on Jackson Dart, and you're basically counting on that defense to force the Patriots into making mistakes that they just have not really done too often this season, and that's a pretty tall order. So I don't think they get it done, but I think they hang around and they make it a little uncomfortably close. But give me those Patriots 27-20. But comment down below, let me hear from you, thoughts, opinions on the matchup, who you like, dislike, and why, anything you think you might see in this game. And again, I don't bet, but if you're betting, you have a prop, something like that, or just what you're betting on the spread, whatever it may be, let me know. Let me hear from you. I'm always interested in hearing. But until Tuesday, yes, when we do power rankings, I will see you all next time. Have a good one.